It's a business.
Yeah, get serious. So one of Mike King Biz here. We are here at Crossroads Art Center. My good friend Jenny Kirby. So Chris Mayfield and I are having our business summit. This time it is sponsored by
me.
Chris Mayfield.
Profusion Consulting.
That is Profusion Consulting. And today we're here with a host of friends talking about the culture and organizations. And Chris, give us an idea of where you come from perspective as far as culture goes.
So, I don't think it's a big mystery for anybody that your corporate culture, or your organization's culture, whether you're a nonprofit or for-profit, is one of the leading contributors to whether your people stay around or not. And we know that COVID has kind of wreaked havoc on things over the last 12 to 18 months. We know that people are out now shopping jobs. The gig economy is in full effect. People don't want to show up for minimum wage and no benefits. Just anecdotally, I saw an ad yesterday for a no experience, no tools mechanic, $20 an hour, $2,500 sign-in bonus, and $2,500 worth of free tools once you get trained. So that's where it's at. That's where the employee market is at, and our culture and how we treat folks inside our organization and encourage that individual contribution will determine how we're going to come out of the next several years. So we're operating in the new normal. That's a little cliche, I'm sorry. So what I wanted to do was just get folks who are out there rubbing elbows and kneecap to kneecap and making those happen every day. And let's just have a conversation about maybe some of our lessons learned in the last 18 months and where we think we're going to go over the next 18 months.
All right, we'll start on the end. Introduction, Shannon Soriano Greenwood. We'll start with you. Introduce yourself, and then we'll go down the line, and we'll circle back again.
All right. My name is Shannon Soriano Greenwood, and I'm the founder and CEO of the Rebel brand, which is the Rebel community, a membership community. We offer peer groups for women leaders in the VP, director, manager level, and we also produce an annual conference, RebelCon. Our next one is coming in November.
I'm Ben Finsgraff. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Common House. We are a social club. We have locations in Charlottesville, Richmond, and Chattanooga, and hopefully more coming soon. And the whole premise is around building a place to build community that's very inclusive, diverse, and dynamic. And we try to provide the amenities that kind of help bring people together, whether that's from food and beverage to design to co-working, events, programming, etc. And so we've been in Richmond since October and have been absolutely thrilled to be here and love the Richmond community.
And we're thrilled to have you. You know I am.
Good morning. I am Danny Gladden Green. I'm the Executive Director for the Women's Business Center Richmond, located on the campus of Virginia Union University. We are a nonprofit, partially funded by the Small Business Administration. I think there may have been a Women's Business Center here before that was supported by the SBA, but our focus really is on championing women businesses and other minority or underserved businesses. We offer a plethora of technical assistance, coaching, counseling. 99.9% of all of our services are free of charge to the clients that we serve. I'm also a business owner, founder and CEO of Sajis Consulting, very much like, leadership development, general management, operational excellence. And what I found is in my own business, I focus on some of the same things that were needed in this role. And so for me to come off of my platform in my own business and leave that to be ran by the others, I really looked at this as an opportunity to serve the underserved, to make available and make visible things that they may not know about in order to not just have a business, but to help it to thrive. And that's what we focus on in terms of building community, building collaboration, and focusing on inclusion.
Hi, my name is Will Melton, CEO of Exponent 21. We are a Richmond-based digital marketing and experience design firm. We have a mission to make the world a better place to work. And we do that by experimenting with non-traditional work practices and really trying to be on the cutting edge of everything cultural and anything that we can do to really embrace listening to what employees are looking for in the workplace and do that profitably. I believe that you can do all of those things and be profitable and grow probably faster than you would if you're constantly cutting costs and looking for ways to take more from your employees so you can have more profits.
I'm Danielle Fitzhugh, President and CEO of the Chesterfield Chamber. And we, operate 600 businesses in our membership. And those businesses represent about 130,000 employees. And so when you talk about being inclusive, we work throughout our membership to provide peer groups, education, networking. Our role every single day is about building their business. And if we can build their business, they can then go out and serve and build the community in which they live, work, and play in. Our members are from all over the region, primarily Chesterfield County. But if they do business in the county and happen to be in one of the greater Richmond markets, that like Aaron and others, then they join our chamber because there's not a better connection to the community than what we do. We work with educating from the K-12, higher ed, and our adult population to get them to work. And we have several platforms for that as well.
And we're a member as well.
There you go. We like that.
I'm Sam Stone. I'm president of Stone's Office Equipment. We're a family-owned company. My father started in 1970, and we're a document company. So anything that puts an image on paper, whether it's copy or print, scanning, we do that. That's what we do. And we've been doing that for 51 years now in the Richmond community. We have an office also in Fredericksburg that we serve for that community. And we believe that you shouldn't know that you own a copier. It should just run in the background. And we take care of those little blinking lights and things that make you want to kick the equipment. All the annoyances.
Yes, sir.
All the annoyances. So part of our mission statement says we make your life easier, business better by going above and beyond by giving exceptional service. So we want you to have a great customer experience. And I'm just very excited about being here today. Thank you.
Aaron Owens.
Hey everyone, my name is Aaron Owens. I'm owner of US Pest Control located here in Richmond, Virginia. Thank you, Mike, for having me today. It's a pleasure to be in this circle of people here. We've been around now for 30 years. I'm 27 years old. This company was
How'd you
actually...
wait a second? That's that new man.
So I'm 27, born and raised here in Richmond, Virginia. My grandparents started this business back in 1991, so I'm continuing a legacy. Our goal here at US Pest Control is really to just help you protect your investments. And we pride ourselves in taking a proactive approach to pest control by setting up preventative measures around residential homes, commercial facilities, and just conducting annual inspections, doing preventative quarterly plans, termite inspections, crawl space repair. We do it all. So we do anything from ant control, termite control to rats and mice. And actually, we do crawl space work as well. So if anyone needs their crawl space checked out, give us a call. We can check out your vapor barrier installation and do any type of mold and fungi remediation. So glad to be here. Aaron Owens, US Pest Control.
Jenny Kirby, Crossroads Art Center. So we are 19 plus years. I started this business with James Bassfield, and James retired about 10 years ago and left me and a great team to take over and turn it into what we've done. We started out with 10,000 square feet, which was building one. About 5-6 years later, added this one, which is 10,000 square feet, and then added building 3, which is 5,000. So we've got a 25,000 square foot facility. We represent 250 plus local artists. We also have classrooms over in building 3 that we do classes. The instructors actually run all those classes. We just act as the house for them to rent space and run their classes out of. And we have a pretty diverse group of employees. I like to get them young, like in high school, and then they go all the way through college and working at VCU and, and then working for me on the weekends. And that's worked out great for me because when they decide that they don't want to go into the career that they've chosen to get an
That they
education in,
paid for?
then I snag them and say, but I would love to have you here. And that has worked well for us. And then I have a lot of older folks that are artists that had another career that have retired and they've come back to work here. And it's a great community. We try to do so many things outside of just the visual arts. We incorporate the performing arts. When we do our art openings, we reach out to like the Richmond Symphony, the opera, the theaters in town to do different things with them when we can. So we try to make it pretty broad and expansive, our reach.
Well, Marty, thank you guys for the intros. I'm gonna start with the idea of culture, and we can look at it a couple different ways. We can look at it organizational and family wise, like Sam, or you can look at it, Ben, where you guys have just started out. How do you set culture for an organization from the beginning, or how do you continue it if you're in a family business like you two here? Ben, I'll start with you.
For us, I tell you my greatest influences from a culture perspective. There was a professor at Darden that created something called stakeholder theory, and I went to Darden. And stakeholder theory is very similar to what Will was referencing in how he runs his business. But really where it really like caught my attention is when I was leaving. I was in the finance world in New York, and I was leaving to start a career in hospitality. And I read a book by Danny Meyer called Setting the Table. And Danny, if you're not familiar with him, is one of the most prolific restaurateurs in Manhattan. But then he also founded Shake Shack. And he wrote a book called Setting the Table that's really based off of stakeholder theory. And it's all about you treat your employees like family, and you pay them well, treat them well, and they will in turn treat your customers well. Your customers will come back more. You treat your suppliers well, and you give back to the community. If you do all those things, ultimately the last thing you need to think about is your bottom line, because it'll all come together in the right way. And so we look at our employees, our team members as our greatest asset we have. Our buildings are not, our brand is not, it's really our people. And we believe if you treat them like that, they will give back to our members, they will give back to our company. And that's proven to be the case. We've had very limited turnover in the 6-7 years that we've been now operating. And so that's really, how we try to, build our culture. The other key aspect is, we try to hire great people and let them do their job and not micromanage, and really, let them use their talents and their skills to thrive. So that's really how we think about culture at Common House.
All right, Sam, what happens when you've been given the keys to the kingdom? Now all of a sudden, the Cadillac's moving along. Here you go, running.
And I'll tell you, it was more like a minivan than a so it was just a family business, and it was, my father started, got out of the Air Force, and he started working on typewriters and grew from there. And he got to a point where he said, I wouldn't work for me and not for a corporation. And it was a struggle. So, there was a lot of times when, he wasn't around for weekends or little league games and stuff like that. Because he was working to build a business. So what I knew is I saw from him a couple of things. One was, Sundays were always Sundays. They were off. We go to church and we do things like that. I saw his values there. You pick those values up and you grow along with those values, and that's what you do. And one of the things was, because we were a small family, as we started to employ people, they became members of a family. And today we have people that have been working there for, our dispatcher for service is 27 years with us. I've seen her children be born. I've seen them graduate college now. So And I'm only 39, so.
Well, you look good. That must be that good clean living.
But I'll say though, it does start with you have to have the values to start with and then grow from culture. And I like what, one of the TED Talks that I heard where it says, people don't buy what you sell, they buy why you sell it. So it's not what, but why. And you have to have a reason why, and being involved in your community. If you just want to reap and never get back, your crop is going to be limited the next year. So we just believe in giving back.
All right, Aaron, you stepped so your grandmother has an accounting firm, correct?
That's correct.
And so you step in US Pest Control, things are rolling along. You knew everything about the business, right?
Not at all. Like I said, we've been around for 30 years now, but about 6 years ago, it got to the point where the business was actually going to get sold. Because like I said, my grandmother, she has her own business. My grandfather, he passed away. So it was not under the correct management, I would say. She's busy. You have male technicians coming in, doing what they do. There's no true guidance, I would say, or leadership. So the business was about to get sold, and the guy came in, he was looking to purchase the company basically for nothing. And I was in the scene a little bit, not really. I'm doing my own thing, working regular jobs, this and that, but I didn't want to see the company go down that way. So I said, you know what, man, time to man up. Let me man up. Let me learn a little bit more about the company, see where we are. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna run some routes on my own. And I'm gonna learn, I'm gonna get licensed, I'm gonna go to school for it, did that. So 5-6 years later, I mean, we've grown big time based on me, I would say starting over a little bit, because it's a new day and time now. Everything is technology based, everything is online presence, your brand is important, all that stuff is visual. So I had to basically start by getting the groundwork in place with new website, uniforms, getting logos on the vehicle, establishing the US Pest brand that I wanted to be. So started networking, people like Danielle, Mike. So doing things like that to help grow the company has kind of been the biggest key to us getting to where we are now.
Gotcha.
It kind of occurred to me as we were sitting here, there's growing your brand internally, there's operating inside your own company, but like the chamber and Shannon, what you do, and it's very different than operating a single company, right? Because you're managing hundreds of thousands of people in different organizations, and all have different stakeholders. They all have different desired outcomes. So that's a little bit different. So if you could talk about building a culture across different businesses and across different lines of operations, because that's significantly different than operating inside your own four walls and what you can control, because largely you can't control what happens.
No one can.
Right. So that's a little different, different skills. So maybe you guys could touch on that.
Well, for me, I think culture starts with values, right? And I think it's helpful when it is a family business or when you're the founder that it's your values, right? So you've identified what your values are, and then you model them, or you talk about them, or you share them in other ways that people can see them. That's not always so clear in larger companies or businesses that have grown past a founder. There's operators involved, and I think that's where we try to help people get really clear on their individual values, and then they can take that back to their organizations to create values as an organization or as a team. Because, right, if you're not on the same page as in regards to what's important to you, then you can't have a cohesive culture. And I think when you're talking about diversity and inclusion and creating dynamic community, making sure that those values are aligned will help you cross those differences of experience or where you've grown up or religion or all of the other differences that we have. We can often identify and be on the same page when it comes to what's important to us.
If I was to speak on it, starting this institution that, there's 130 women business owners out there, but we're all different and unique. We all have our framework, and we started in March of this year. I think you're exactly right. It starts with who you are. And as the ED of this environment, I had to think about who I was going to hire, how they're going to do. And it starts with me. I believe every individual, every business has value. And it seems simple to say that, but until you really live it, then you don't get into a critical scenario of evaluating those that you serve. My perspective comes from a servanthood mentality. So that means that I am uniquely gifted to do some things, and I know people. So I want our center to be looked at as a comprehensive solution provider. That may not mean that we do everything, but the people that we do employ have to have a mindset, I believe, that every business, every person that comes through that door, anyone who calls us on the phone, they have value. And now how do you take your gifts and connect them with what they need to be successful? And even if that means calling our friends at BizWorks or calling Chris or whoever we need to connect them with, if we don't have it in our wheelhouse, then we want to be connected. So that concept of collaborative bridge building, you got a person that, in COVID, you're dealing with them across the phone. You don't always, get to see them face to face and feel their aura. But even in the virtual setting, there is a way of you presenting yourself that will bring the best out of them. So consequently, our friends at the SBA will send us who have been labeled difficult clients. And that I take great joy in listening to what they're dealing with and then identifying how I can help or how we can help. And then that takes some of the sting out of them being stuck, because our goal is for them to thrive, because we believe that businesses do make communities better. And I'm serving businesses who hire in underrepresented communities. So if we leave them stuck and say, let me move on to the next, so no one's left behind. And even if we have to hand off, I think that's what I try to do, but it takes place in your spirit of believing that every individual and every company has value.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the idea of culture when you look at your organization and how that directly affects the bottom line. Because you say you stopped chasing dollars.
Yeah.
Okay, we're clear on that.
I had, this mission to make the world a better place to work. A couple of years ago, we really came up with that, but I didn't stop chasing dollars when we did it. I was like, how are we going to actually have an impact? Because we don't deliver any service, that's necessarily making the world a better place to work for our clients, aside from automating marketing, taking some of the tedious tasks off their plate. But I think I said, well, how would we do it? Maybe become a really big company with 1,000 workers, and we deliver all these benefits to these people and create this culture and be a trailblazer. That was my thought. I said, so we got to be $1 billion company to do that and still chasing the dollars. And I think closer to the end of last year, obviously, COVID had a lot of space to think. I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy chasing a dollar. I wasn't accomplishing my mission by trying to build the biggest company that I could. So I stopped. I gave up on that. And I said, let's just focus on what we can do within our organization to be a trailblazer, to lead, and to show the world what we're doing. And so, and honestly, like, everybody here is talking about, it starts with your personal values. I didn't know when I started my company that, I was building a culture. I was just starting a business, and, I was hiring people. And as people started to work for me, I was like, okay, well, how do I make this person's world the best it can be so that they can show up for me in their job? And so a lot of listening and a lot of responding, but some things don't work and you stop doing it. And sometimes you're curious about whether something will work, so you try them. And I think through that experimentation and constantly looking for feedback, we've been able to do it. And now we're starting to democratize our organization so that it's not me that makes the decisions, but it's a group of people who are versed in that area, and I trust them to confer and decide without me. And so it's starting to chip away at it. We're not there yet. We're not abundantly profitable or anything like that. We hire people before we need them so we can stay ahead and serve our customer. But we're working toward it. We got some things to figure out, but it seems to be working so far.
All righty, Danielle, you had said a person is not going to join the Chesterfield Chamber and be a wallflower.
Yeah, I mean.
You were not having it.
No, I mean, we're really bullish about getting our members involved and helping them build their relationships. I mean, that is really our unique value proposition. we tell our members, we are committed, we promise that we are a committed group of professionals to your success. So you come to us as a new member or a returning member, and we go, we're here to help you. But it's not just our staff and our team. It's my hundreds of employees that work for our member companies that are there to help you grow. So when you go to programming, whether it's virtual or in person, our members want to know, Sam Sky is Reed, like they're asking Reed, what do you do? How can I help you? Who are you trying to meet? They're not out there trying to sell you their wares. They're trying to figure out what's your business and how can I help you? What do you need to know? And I tell people all the time, I kind of joke, I said, we're like the mob. Once you in, you in.
That's what I've gotten, yes, I've gotten the messages.
Right, and we do, we try our best to take care of you. We've got retention building in place where our staff.
So not like
Job.
the mob.
That's right, that's that line. But that really does build a culture, right? So what I hear from our members is, or a new member, well, I came to something 5 or 6 years ago, which predates me, and I may or may not have felt welcome, right? Like I felt like I was on the outside, and I said, come back and give us a try. And it's an entirely different experience because you have to work to change that culture, right? So you have to work to make sure, and we do the preaching of our members. It's their job to help us grow, because if we grow, they grow, because we're extending additional relationships to them. So it's that culture that, you're not helping the chamber, you're helping yourself. So the onerous, we are 90% referral base on our membership growth. And I have a membership person, but she's just, she's trying to keep up with the referrals.
And she's killing it.
So, it's about building the attitude that, Aaron knows a guy knew Aaron and said, hey, you need to come. I'm with the Chesterfield Chamber. I know it's over the river. You gotta get, a whole passport and everything, but, come on, I need you to go to the event. I need you to see what they're doing over there. Bring us
Bring us
back.
back.
Right, exactly.
Because it's gonna be-
Bring it back.
So one of the things, it's on the mic with Mike King, Chris Mayfield is here. We have our friends talking about culture. And one of the things I want to talk to Jenny and Ben about is when you have a location that becomes the house, like there's a house in the neighborhood that is the house that everyone goes to, whether it's your house or a friend's house. That's your house.
That's my house.
Was it always that was always?
Always.
Okay, so now if that's been your house, how do you make that the place? How do you make the Common House? How do you make Crossroads Arts Center so much of the community that people just want to come here and do things? Sometimes it's part of what you do. Sometimes it's people just showing up and things happen, like having a sensory night here for our friends with autism. The lady said, is your friend crazy? My kid has autism. You're going to bring him into an art gallery? She's like, yeah, we'll make it work. And it worked. So let's talk about setting the tone here that makes this a community house or the Common House or Shannon's house. Like, okay, Shannon's house. That's the community house.
We'll let Shannon go first.
Yeah, that's the good story.
I was gonna say snacks is like the key, like to make it, I joke, but really like creating an experience where people feel welcome, where you don't feel like you're an outsider. I mean, you talked about it there, of turning the other people there into the advocates for you, because I can invite you in all day long, but if there's another person here who doesn't live here, who's like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're here, that's the key. I mean, Mike, you do that for the Common House. Like anyone that walks in and sees you there, you're gonna give them the whole spiel, and you don't work there.
Exactly.
You just hang out there.
I'm just there.
So, like finding those people that can be your advocates, like giving them the autonomy to then like advocate for you, and that makes other people feel like this is the place that I should be.
Yeah, I think Shannon just pretty much said what I was gonna say. And so the how we do it in what we've done in Richmond and what we've done in Chattanooga is actually in Richmond it was multiple years in the making of us taking almost probably 1,000 recommendations of people who are leaders within the community, and not just leaders within the broader Richmond community, but within their respective communities. And that's across we try to make it across every geographic to ethnicity to socioeconomic, et cetera, so that we really are bringing in the entire community of Richmond. And so the first thing we do is hire a membership director, and that person helps us whittle down that list from what was over 1,000 people down to 40. And it's really,
How do you get from 1,000 to 40? You know, the 40 who were left standing, they gotta feel pretty good.
Well, I want to know.
You're
how did you make
one of
it in
them,
if they
right?
got down to 40?
No, what he's saying was, I wasn't one of the 40, because I just came along after the fact. I wanted to know how the cool people got there who were part of the 40.
But your son was one.
He was, I'm like, how did my son get to be one of the cool people?
He's a blowout man.
Yeah, okay, he is.
but, you know, we tell, you know, this group, we bring them in early on, you know, a year plus before we open, and we say, this is your club, right? Like, we're just building a space, right? This is your home away from home. This is whatever you all want to make of it, right? And so go out to your respective communities and bring people in and let us help you do that. And then it builds upon itself. It's the same as, you know, Shannon was saying, is that, you know, they introduce it to their community, those individuals bring other people in, and it just kind of builds upon itself. And ultimately what we found is where you end up is where, you know, that kind of ballooning or snowballing effect results in a really dynamic community and of, you know, what we were looking for. And we're incredibly proud, especially at the Richmond location, of our membership base. I mean, it is such an incredible group of people that we really do believe is representative of the city, and we're continuing to work to make that, you know, continue. And, you know, I think that, you know, additionally, as people walk into Common House, you know, we don't want to leave. We do not want to be exclusive. Every other club in the world wants to be exclusive. We want to be the opposite of that. We want this to be as inclusive as possible. We have a scholarship program. You want to be a part of our community. We want to make that happen. There's no judgment if you apply. Like, we're not going to tell you you're cool or not cool or whatever what people do in other clubs. Like, it's purely when you apply is how you get in, right? And so like, you walk in and you're not a member, our team members, we want them to lead with hospitality, right? Like, hey, welcome. Like, can we give you a tour? Would you like to have lunch? Would you like, you know, check it out, right? And so I think that for us is key to make it feel like a home, and like you're always welcome.
Okay. Your house.
My house, yeah, so yeah, it's a big house too. So I grew up in a family business, several actually on many different realms, and then was part of a family business. So when I started Crossroads, I definitely wanted it to be a family business. And we laugh because I say, you know, I can't tell you how many grandmothers, how many mothers, how many, you know, brothers and sisters that are in here that are artists. And it's funny, the relationships, you know, you develop over 19 years, you become very attached to these folks who've been with you for this long. And it is like a family community. And then they bring their family in, literally. We've got, you know, some folks that their grandparents are showing and their granddaughter is showing here. So it's really diverse. And then, as Mike knows, we did the Black Friday on Black Friday Small Business.
Oh, yeah, that was something.
That was amazing.
Yes,
So,
okay, really quick,
go
I
ahead,
gotta
go ahead,
steal this
go
one.
ahead.
So we're on conservative radio, and a friend of mine wants to have a Black Business Expo. But they can't find a place big enough. I said, I got the place.
Or one that they could afford too.
That is true, because they were blown away. And I said, you gotta talk to my friend Jenny, and this lady is as pro-Black as you can get. She said that she called me, she's my friend. We came here and she was blown away by it. But we're on the radio trying to explain, on conservative radio, trying to explain to people why pro-Donald Trump radio is having me there and Jenny talking about a Black Business Expo. This was interesting. The man wants to know, could you explain to me what black dollars are? The faces on everybody in the studio dropped. Yes, sir, I can explain that right there. It's dollars circulating in a community, and that's what we do here. It's the same thing. People who operate in our world, good favors, businesses circulate among each other. That's how you guys are here right now. That's why we're talking about what we do. You guys are the best of the best when it comes to attracting retaining talent to keep things going. And that's why we're here talking about culture. Everyone doesn't have a sexy business like Aaron Owens to get people to come and, and attract people who everyone wants to do that, right? Everyone wants to come out and work for, no. No.
I never was-
So it's like pest control. How do you attract and hold on to the people that you have for people, whether it is a business, for sales, for marketing, or whatever? How do you attract the best and brightest and hold on to the ones that you have when people are giving away money now to have people show up?
Like they mentioned before, it starts with us first. So we need to create the business model that we see in the future. So I do a lot of book reading now. I'm trying to get my mind programmed and trained to establish this business to where I really want it to be. So it starts with us within, and then creating that dialogue or where you want to be later on. Then you can kind of decide what type of workers you want to work for you. First of all, you have to be a hard worker to work with us. You can't be afraid to get dirty, of course.
Go in
You
a crawl space.
Yeah, you gotta go in crawl space.
Brave.
Yeah, you gotta be brave. I mean, these are the things.
That was the young Mike, possible.
So I mean, we're looking for the full package. I would say you need to have great customer service, because being in the service industry, you're constantly serving people, and people want to be satisfied. People want their problems solved, period. You have to move quick, and you have to basically know what you're talking about. People are gonna ask you questions in this industry. You gotta be able to answer it. You gotta be able to be thorough. That's key, because we do a lot of inspections, so you can't miss out on things, because you miss out on things, it can cause a lot of damage later on to a person's house. A lot of stuff. I mean, you got to be careful, because if you're dealing with termite chemical in a yard, you got to make sure that pets are up. Things like, it's just being safe is key, but also honesty, integrity, and then we want professionals.
Gotcha. Sam, let's talk about attracting sales folks. Now, that's my world. That's where it comes from. What's happening in the sales world? How do you attract the best and brightest? And how do you hold on to yours when others come poaching?
Well, I think you just have to treat everyone fairly. And I think they can see value in that. I think that they can see that there's going to be good times and bad times and everything. Sales are, it's very cyclical, so it's going to go in these cycles. And I mean, well, like in this past year, when we were considered an essential business, but 50% of our business model was still open. We had contractors but 50% on the professional world were working from home. So it left us a lot of downtime at that time. I sat down with them and I said, don't worry about your job. It's going to be here, but we're going to be slow for a little while. We're going to ramp up on training and everything else. But let me go back to something else that we talked about earlier, where you were saying earlier about the difference between maybe a chamber and a small business. I can see a lot of similarities in what we do, in the sense that from our standpoint too, we might be going out and servicing a private equity company, or we might be going to a construction trailer. There's a broad range of people that we have to, and our people have to be able to relate on a lot of different levels. So I believe we all sit kind of in the same uncomfortable chair sometimes, where we all face the same challenges. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest, I'm known for speaking straight up, so I'm not going to hold back.
There you go. That's what we do here.
But one of the things I think the greatest lies that we've been told, or we're being told, is that we all have to be alike to be liked. And I'm telling you that's a lie. Because we have a very diverse work group in our company. And just because my value is what my value is, I don't expect them to cling to my value. What I do expect them is hold on to the values of the company. I've promised them the same promise to my fathers, that I would never do anything that would jeopardize the integrity of our company. I'm not going to go out and do things that are reckless and be crazy about it, because the last thing I want to do, and I'll tell you this, he told me that, anybody remember Regency Square? Y'all all it used to be a mall here in town. He said, I don't ever want you to have to walk down the hall and see a customer coming and have to duck in a store because we've done something that would make you ashamed to be, a representative of this company. And I always remember that, and now I use it today. I don't want to be sitting up in there or have one of my employees sit up in there and see a customer and have to do, in
gotta
and
hide.
out. Because we want to hit any issue straightforward. That's what they know. So I tell my employees, I don't expect you to be like Sam Stone. If there was a group of all me, minions of me running around, well, the world would be great. But-
That's how I feel. I get
But I mean, no, we don't all share the same values, and I think that's just being pushed on everybody to say we all have to be the same, and I'm like, no, we don't have to be the same. That's what makes this world so great.
There you go. Dr. Danny, a lot of businesses come to you with all types of issues over at the center. What part does culture play in it, and it allows them to be better at what they do?
So that's really a good part, because I think when your focus is on the underserved and maybe the socioeconomically challenged, and you're dealing with women who, less than 25% of women businesses ever seek funding outside of their own bank account. So we're financing our own dreams, and you're trying to get them to understand there are other ways. And then the majority of the people who come through the door are Black and brown. And so the challenge is not just about these opportunities, whether it's through corporations or federal government or doing business with Virginia. Even when it was PPP and EIDL, you have to deal with the challenge of people saying, but that's not for us, because they are not used to something that would benefit them or their business coming from outside of things they don't control.
Look at Shannon shaking her head like, yeah.
And so one of the is breaking some of the cultural stereotypes, helping women to understand. I grew up with my grandfather, saying you pay for your learning. So if I sat down and played poker with him, I had to play with my own money, and I had to figure out how to beat him. Well, then I got with my mom. My mom said, play with somebody else's money.
Hey.
And so I am working on breaking down barriers and stereotypes where people would say, but this is not for me. I help people complete their applications, and they got an award letter for like $70,000. And then they said, oh, I'm not going to accept it, because I don't know what's going to happen. The government is going to get in my, so those are the things, I guess, there are a lot of things I could say, but that's the one that I think is the most challenging, is that you're dealing with people who have, even some of my business owners have great credit, like 750, 800, and they are still not willing to grow using someone else's money, because I don't know about many of the people around the table. And again, coming up in an African-American home, my granddaddy was always like, you don't do credit. You put your money aside and you go pay cash for it, because there was something about ownership. But we have to let people know there's risks out there, there are opportunities, and you can provide employment for other people. You can give back to communities, take the $70,000, don't use but 30, and just pay it back. But you can, again, grow such that you can positively impact your community. And that's one of the cultural things that we're doing.
So you're talking about women who are coming in at a certain level. Shannon shaking her head. You're dealing with women who are at a higher level, and you're still shaking your head like that's the same story.
Absolutely. We could talk all day about women and money, but
Oh, wait a minute, let me just interrupt you, just
Yeah.
1 second. You do know that we're having a Women on
Shameless
Wealth, shameless
do
plug.
it.
Women on Wealth Summit, October the 29th at Virginia Union University. And it's all aspects of wealth, which includes womanliness, entrepreneurship, affiliation, leadership, tenacity, and health. But Women on Wealth, we're talking about money.
To tie it back to the conversation today, which is about culture, a lot of the way that you build culture is making people feel safe. And a place where people, and women particularly, don't feel safe is often around conversations with money and understanding that there are strings attached, whatever those actual strings are, and then the strings that we have in our mind. And so I think we've kind of like touched on it sideways of like, pay people well is a way that you retain them. But that's kind of one piece of the puzzle, right? Giving people a sense of security, meaning we had the conversation of you're not going to lose your job, even though the company might be struggling right now in the pandemic. I think it comes back to honest conversations about what is the risk, what is the reward. I think we're in a really interesting time right now, and I'm sure that this was planned to come up of people talking about the great resignation and just the challenge in attracting workers. I mean, now is the time that workers and employees have more power than they've ever had. And the smart business owners, the people who really understand culture and value attracting great talent that hit all of those things, they're doing that also with compensation and with how they're thinking about compensation and how they're supporting their team. That is a piece of culture that I think when we think of culture, we want to think of like the soft stuff of like treat people like family, which is a lovely sentiment. And I think for a lot of small business owners, it really does feel like that. But at the end of the day, paying people well is better than making them feel like family, in my opinion. And just as important to culture as, right, all of the respect that you're giving them through your conversation, through your support to them, the big piece of that is also financial compensation.
Chris Mayfield is sitting there with a big smile on his face when it comes to that. As an organizational guy, how do you legislate that from the top? If that's gonna be the way this organization is gonna run, then we're gonna have a good culture. You're a processes guy, you're a Marine. If ever a person.
Which is not necessarily a great culture.
Well, it's not one that gets stuff done.
It is a highly productive culture.
That's true.
And there's some debate on whether it's a healthy culture or not, but that's for another time. I agree in part that compensation is big. Total comp is another piece of the equation. And when we talk about being an advocate for the chamber or being an advocate for other businesses or other people, when you go and you talk to an employee inside an organization, some of the things that we always kind of screen for in our conversations is tell me about the last time you told somebody else about the company that you work for unsolicited. And that is a very stark indicator of how your culture is going. Because if that answer is, well, almost never or never, I've never told anybody about the company I work for and how great they are, or how much I feel valued or I'm respected at work. If they're not answering that, there's probably something that's missing, because your folks should leave work and tell their friends and family that they're proud of the work that they do and they're proud of the company that they work for, and that in line with decent and fair compensation in the marketplace is a winning recipe. And either one of those things being missing is a recipe for disaster. That's a flat yellow cake soaking down into the oven right there. That is just not going to make it.
Nobody likes wet cake.
No.
And I totally agree with that, because I would want to, I was an investment banker in New York, and you could not create a worse culture than investment banking, right? And you get paid a lot of money to do that, and it is not worth it. And they have 90% turnover by choice, not by me getting fired. That's not, but yes, there is. So I do think compensation plays a part for us at Common House, is that we're an early stage company, and I'm able to pay people the max I can pay them. But at times it's not as much as maybe they could make doing something else. But because of the fulfillment, we hope that they get out of the job, and also the opportunity to grow with us, and the belief that, we're all going to grow this company together. We will all benefit from that. Is something that I believe is very valuable as part of, like, as you mentioned, the full compensation package. And so we try to, as we are able to, we want to give back to our employees, and they understand that. And so as we grow, we hope that, we're able to compensate more and more, but as an early stage, there's more aspects to it than just full on, just cash, right? But, as in, the changing dynamics of the economy post-pandemic, like it being in hospitality, everyone's paying more and giving more benefits. I think that's great. And I think it's great for the industry. This is an industry that anyone can get into, right? Like we hire a lot, like right out of jail, right? And you have the opportunity, if you stay in it and you work your butt off, you could be a manager within just a couple of years with a salary and benefits. And that's a really unique industry, right? And so I think that there's a lot of aspects to I think the culture and the compensation both play key.
Can I add something to what he said?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, much like even Sam said, employers have to think about, how do they retain that 26-year employee that's been with them? And how do they recruit? Because it's not money. Like people, it's not all about money. It's about culture. It's about belief in the value of what that employee can bring to the table. I mean, people aren't staying just because of money, and they're not leaving just because of money, right? So that's the additive that you leave because of people, you leave because there's a value breakdown, and it's very rarely because there's an equal money to money issue. And so as we're thinking about, I mean, I know, our staff, we're a team of 5, right? No one ever came to work for a chamber because they were
They wanna
getting
get rich.
the money, right? They wanted to get rich. You're just not going into this line of work, right? You didn't grow up with that on your high school graduation, like, oh, I'm gonna go do this at the chamber. But they do go in and go, I'm gonna help businesses grow. I'm going to help small, large, I'm gonna help people, I'm gonna help my community. And we can do that by what the chamber offers, but employers have to be thinking about what is their value add of why employees stay. Why has that employee stayed for 26 years? Why did that employee come back in October, right? From our new business that we haven't done in this market before. So when you're recruiting, it's like, oh, it's a new business, they may not make it, why am I gonna go work for them?
So for us on the compensation end, I actually offer my employees as much vacation as they want. So if they want to take a trip to Europe for a month, we'll make it work. Yeah, I mean, they only get paid for 2 of those weeks, but if they want to take a big vacation like that and go do something like that, or they've got, family stuff that they've got to go deal with, great, we will make it work one way or the other, we'll make it work. And they know that quality. And that's, I know is huge for them, knowing that they can do that. I mean, it's great for me knowing that I can do that. I just wish I could go for a month, but I can't. And then also when we hit different milestones in sales every month, they get bonuses. And then also, everybody's birthday gets recognized. It's fun. And we make it an environment that it feels like family, even with the 250 artists that we have. We have very few turnover. So those, you've got to treat them like family, and they've got to be selling for them to want to stay. So and in their compensation, what's the fairest way for us to work out, what they're paying in rent and then what they're paying in commission. So you have to think of my business is very different from everybody else's, I think, because you've got clients as artists, you've got clients that are walking in to buy. And then you have designers, you have architects coming in, you have a myriad different people that you're dealing with.
I think when I say compensation, I don't necessarily mean a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I think like that sometimes gets lost in the conversation when you talk about compensation and culture. It's not necessarily the largest salary that you can always offer, right? I know Chris said it's combined with other things, but making sure that it's on your mind, that your artists are being compensated for the time that they're here and they're feeling supported, and the same when it comes to employees and team, right? I'm not necessarily going to offer you the best salary of anyone ever made in this role, but I'm aware of how the compensation affects you and what you're able to do in your life based on how you're contributing here.
There's one thing I noticed that people always say, my father would say, when people say it ain't about the money, it's about the money.
Right.
It is about the money and how people perceive it, because that's how they look at things. also was had on, the folks who were, the union members who were on strike over in Nabisco. And I asked the guy, what was it about? He said, when they start asking why, it's about the money. You know, when people start questioning you about your why, it is about the money. So you guys have set the table across the board for successful organizations on different types. So it's not so much about how it's done across industry, it's about how you perceived it to be looked at in your organization. As we start to wind down, let's talk a little bit about a highlight in your organization that you'd like to hang your hat on when it comes to something that has a great culture. Shannon, you got the cool one right there, the RebelCon. You were out there nationwide bringing in cool speakers, and you guys have a national platform of women who are out there being dynamic. How do you make that happen, and how do you use that as a culture?
I mean, our mission obviously lends itself well to successful culture, and that we exist to share the stories of women so that we can support one another. So I think the fact that our mission is based on helping people grow, obviously that affects how we operate internally, that we're all committed to personal development and personal growth and fostering it for people outside of our organization and also within. So I think we kind of lucked out in that situation, and that we're not selling a separate entity from the thing that we're doing also internally for ourselves.
And how can people find you?
ReadyToRebel.com is our website, and Ready to Rebel on Instagram.
And
I think there's two parts that I think from a culture standpoint that I'm very proud of is one, that when we launched Charlottesville in 2017, and I hired a handful of exceptional talent that were top tier talent for New York in the hospitality industry, top tier talent in sales. And the majority of them sold their own businesses to join us. And all we had was this one little location with a dream to open more, right? And I had my general manager for Charlottesville, I asked, why are you, obviously I'm selling, right? To join my team, I'm selling myself, right? That you believe in me, that I can do this, and you can help me do this. And he's like, I right now own 2 restaurants, and I'm on the floor every night. He's like, I don't want to be 65 on the floor of a restaurant. I want to be something bigger than that. And, now he sits at our corporate level, and he's our director of hospitality. And every single one of those people sit at our corporate level. And they have they have a lot of people that work underneath them, and they're running multiple units that have, now, 250 plus employees, right? That these individuals are all key managers of, and they've really grown professionally. And so I'm very proud that we've been able to actually fulfill what we said we were going to do. And they gave up a lot to do that. And I'm glad we're able to we're now giving them all equity in the company so that as we grow and become more successful, they can benefit from that. And the second part is that I've also seen since we've opened, we've had servers that are now managers doing things completely different. I have he was a server, and then he became a bartender, and now he's our head of membership in Charlottesville. And we have servers that have become managers in other locations, that moved to Chattanooga to help us open that club and become key employees. And I'm really proud of that. I'm proud of the ability for people to grow within our organization, because I think that was a key sales point beyond compensation, is that hey, this is a place you can grow. We're going to support you. But there's a lot of trust that has to come with that, right? Because they can go off and do whatever they want. They're incredibly talented people. And so I'm very proud that we've been able to, give that to our employees, and that it's actually been fulfilled.
How can we find you?
Commonhouse.com. We're on Broad Street, right near Cork Hotel, 305 Broad.
30 where?
303.
Well, 303 and 305.
Okay,
It's,
so
yeah.
because it was like, okay, I thought I was going to the wrong place.
No. So
Women sneaking in the
Exactly.
back door.
So the original address of that building was 305 Broad. So that new door that we added for the club is 303.
Not the hidden door that we don't go to.
That's 303.
Exactly.
And that's brand new. That was not there before.
Oh, wow.
So,
He's put one in there.
Exactly.
yeah, and so we had to add a new address to it, but 305, the main entrance, which will now be Birdie's. And Birdie's opens November 4th.
All
Gotta
right.
come check it out. We got an oyster bar opening. We have a little coffee shop, retail wine. That's all open to the public. And we really wanted to do that. It was really important to us and also our partners at New Crops. And, they're very, prominent on that part of Broad. It was really important to us to add to the vibrancy of the neighborhood. And so that'll be opening in November. So we're excited about that. But yes, 303, 305 Broad, come down, whether you're coming to Birdie's or coming to Common House. And then also commonhouse.com.
All right, Dr. Dan.
As I mentioned before, we are challenged a little bit to overcome some scenarios when you're serving the underserved. So the first thing we want them to know is that, one, we are here for you. We will hear you and we will help you. And that is a mindset that permeates our small but mighty team. As we deal with business owners, we serve since I want to say March, we've brought in about 209 unique businesses, whether they're in the aspiring level or the experienced and established. And it's a challenge to always be able to reach out to them, but we want them to know that, again, we are here for you, we hear you, and we will help you. And sometimes that involves other resource partners. And at the end of the day, we want to see that economic impact in the communities they serve. So we ask for some feedback on how they're being served and if they're getting all that they need. And if I was going to hang my hat on something like that, that is what I would like to hear when, other people say why they came to us. So we'll have people who do refer others and say, I was told to, call the Women's Business Center. There are other similarly situated organizations out there doing what we do. We believe the demand is high and we want to be at the top of that funnel so that people don't fall out. So when they reach out to a Danielle Fitzhugh, that they're ready to take full advantage of the chambers and things of that nature. And so our collaborative bridge building is very important in our ability to achieve that mission of serving the underserved, and particularly growing women's businesses such that they are thriving and not just surviving.
How can we find it?
The WBC Richmond.org is our website. The WBC Richmond on all social media platforms, and don't miss out on the Women on Wealth Summit, October 29th.
All righty, my man, Will Melton.
So, the last couple of years, I've thought a little bit about the risk that business owners absorb when they start a business. And I think a lot of employees think that the risk is held by the owner. And one of the things I always thought was funny about that is the risk isn't with the owner, especially if you're in a service business, because if things slow down, you can cut costs. And where you're going to cut those costs is going to be your people. And so it's something I want to shine a light on, because as an organization, we have to know that the people we bring into the organization are going to support it. And so to Shannon's point about, creating that space where people are going to feel supported, we ask the question, always be improving is our number one value statement. And so we say, what do you want out of your professional life? What do you want out of, your home life? And so we ask those questions and we find out what we can do to support people when they're not at work. And compensation is a part of that, so they don't take their financial problems from home and worry and bring them to work. But in response to that understanding, we're so committed to making the world a better place to work that we've created a role in an organization called Chief Work Officer. I have fired my wife, who is our former director of operations. She's still my wife.
Tread gently, sir.
She helped me run the organization, grow the organization. She did all the stuff that I'm just not organized enough to do, but it was not her ideal role. It wasn't what she enjoyed, and I gave her some rest. She's on sabbatical right now, but she's going to come back and fill this role, and we're going to ask those questions. How do we help our employees grow professionally, personally? How do we work to make an organization more efficient, and how do we grow together? How do we all take that number one value statement of always be improving and make it real? And so in her role, she's going to be listening, she's going to be observing process, she's going to be improving process, and and finding ways to automate all the little things nobody really wants to do. And listen, just listen and respond. And it's an experiment, so we'll see how it goes. That's what I'm hanging my hat
How can we find it?
on. Exponent21.com, exponent21.com, and Will Melton on that.
There you go.
Yeah, I would say, one of the things I'm most proud of is our work around true inclusiveness and diversity. We are not your grandfather's chamber of commerce. We are an all-inclusive chamber. And when, I'm gonna tell the story, Aaron's mom showed up with him at an event to make sure she wanted to put this little stamp of approval that what did you join and what is this group and are they gonna, they taking care of you? I think we got a thumbs up. I think we got a thumbs up. But when you build a culture where everybody is working to help everybody win, right? So when everybody's working to help everybody win, it's not you or you, it's you and you. That's what I'm most proud of, is that the ability for our members to really work to raise each other up, not just themselves. And then, and how do they share that? How do we know that? We did that through a capital campaign. People want to put their money where they believe. And so in 4 years, we doubled our capital campaign on an annual basis during a recession. So in the middle of COVID, we ran a capital campaign and doubled a 6-year average. And so you don't do that unless your people buy in, unless the culture is bought in, unless the members are bought in. So those are sort of the couple things that really blend together, that where we're going is the right trajectory, and we have the ability to do some things we haven't always done.
All right. Chesterfield Chamber, how can they find?
Chesterfield Chamber VA, there's a couple other Chesterfields out
But
there in the
not
country,
the
but
real
there's only one
only one.
Chesterfield Chamber VA, and we are on everything.
No sun shading.
That's it.
Exactly. Sam?
I want to just put a plug in real quick for the Virginia Council of CEOs, because
Shout out
that's
to
how.
Scott. That's
Scott-
what we
Scott-
got.
that's
Thank you
how-
for
that's how I'm
coming.
here. Scott, I'm on the board, and we're always looking for CEOs who are looking to experience share. So if you are a CEO, you want to be part of a great dynamic organization, I would say that.
You did a great job.
I learned a long time ago, before culture was a buzzword. One of the people in my roundtable owned an advertising company. His passion was culture. And he said, I can give you 2 examples of culture, how it works and how it fails. One is, look at a bank. Sorry for anybody that's out there who's in the banking world, but they spend millions of dollars on campaigns to put all these things up for your community. We're here for you and everything. And what happens, you walk through the door, what, you're faced with a thick piece of glass of somebody sitting behind it. Then walk into an Apple store.
Yeah.
And you walk in the Apple store, it's like, absolutely, touch it, feel it. Here's what it looks like. It's that passion that the culture passes down to the people. One of the things we're passionate about in ours is every dollar that we generate goes back into our community. It goes either to our employees, it goes to, they visit the same schools. That's not so much true with the national companies out there who do what we do. But everybody says, our employees go to the same schools that your kids go to. They go to the same churches your kids go to, they go to grocery stores. So that money stays in the community, but then we use a day in May is our event that we do every year where we give back to the community. We pick an organization. Smaller foundation, usually lesser known than some of the larger, and trying to give them some recognition. And we hold on to them, and then next year we add. So we never take anything away. We just continue to build onto that. And I'm very proud of that. You can visit on our website. Just go Google Stone's Office Equipment, and you'll find all about it. And there's a couple of Stone's Equipment or Stone's Office, but only one Stone's Office Equipment. If you
There you go.
wish.
Alrighty, Aaron Owens.
I just want to say, man, I learned a lot from this table talk here, guys. Appreciate everyone's insight, all the different leaders here. This is motivation. But I would say in my culture, what I recognize is employees and everyone in the same environment, knowing that as we grow, they'll grow as well. So as we're continuing to grow as a company, I always let the technician know, look, man, you're going to make more money as we all grow together. It's not going to just be, oh, the top guy is going to make all the money. Look, as we continue to gain more clients and we work together, everyone's performing at a high level, your commissions will be raised, your salaries be raised, and everyone seems to take that very well. their enthusiasm is there, everyone works together. And we really take pride in creating personal relationships with all of our clients. So I think that's what separates us as a local, small business pest control company is we actually care. And it's funny, man. I have clients that invite me to cookouts. They're like, hey, this is my pest guy. I'm like, but have a cookout.
That is true.
Yep, he treated my yard, guys. Yep, so mosquito free. There you go. But I just think that long as everyone knows that they have a special place within the company, they'll be motivated. And because if you don't keep them satisfied, your company's gonna go down. Was it worth it?
That's true. How do they find you?
You can find us online at www.uspestcontrolinc.com. You can contact us by phone at 804-788-0800. You can find me on LinkedIn at Aaron Owens. Thank you.
Yeah. Jenny, bring us home.
Okay, so for us, COVID brought a few other things to light that we were doing, but that we could expand on. We obviously do physical, you come in, see the art, buy the art. We were also selling art online and have been for quite some time. We hadn't really taken the leap of putting our every other month all media shows out there online. And so we started doing that a couple years ago, and we realized the strength of that, obviously through COVID, because people were shopping online first. So we've taken from just doing the all media shows, to which you just liked earlier today, to expanding it into minority groups like the American Indian, Indigenous folks. We've got a call for entries going on right now until, or starts in October, goes into the end of October. And it will be an online show because we don't have any physical space to do it, but we can do it online. Same thing with the African American population, the Hispanic South American population. We did that as well. We'll be doing that again. We have a large India community. And so we will be doing that again. And we're just rolling into that. And then Asian Pacific, we'll be doing that. So throughout the year, we're focusing on minority groups and to let them know we're here. And if they enter, they're in. We'll take up to 70 entries. So it could be a beginning artist, it could be a well-accomplished artist, but it's getting their name out and getting them to understand their business that they're creating as an artist and help them through that process. So that's what we're getting ready to do.
And how can we find you?
Oh, crossroadsartcenter.com.
All righty, on the mic with Mike King, Chris Mayfield. Chris, last parting words.
Perfusion-consulting.com.
That's it?
That's it.
No wisdom?
No wisdom?
You want some wisdom? No, I don't have any wisdom for you right now.
All right, well, okay, we'd like to thank our friends. So really big shout out to Jenny for hosting us today. This is the premier place. She's always great. And when she says that she opens a place up, she opens a place up a lot of times without charging people. For nonprofit groups, friends of mine who come here and just showing them love. I'd like to thank you guys for coming in. This will air on ESPN Richmond with my radio partners, Chris Mayfield, Dr. Danny, Danielle Fitzhugh. Will is new to the scene. Shannon's always around. Ben, I'm always at your house. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Sam Stone, it's been a pleasure. I always want to talk to Aaron Owens. Young guys doing big things. We're gonna do this on a monthly basis.
We are, yeah.
We're doing this, and I'd just like to thank you. We have my man Michael Johnson, the Virginia State's finest. Al Green is here with us. All folks who know us, they know Al Green. We roll with him. We'd just like to thank you guys for coming out. I was gonna say God bless tonight, but it's the morning. Exactly. I always wanted to be that guy, but I was forced to step out in front. All right, appreciate it. Thanks. Now take care. Oh, what am I waiting? Yes, thanks. Thanks, take care. All right, folks.